Bryce Underwood's a better quarterback than Arch Manning.
I ain't know if I'm going there. I don't know if I'm going there.
You want to look at the first 5 games and tell me who's played better?
I don't know if I'm going there.
Bryce Underwood has absolutely outplayed Arch Manning.
That is a just wild statement.
It's not, though. It's factual. Expectations are not always reality. Ask Penn State or Texas.
Or our entire YouTube section right now.
Oh, man. This is the Rivalry Podcast. My name is Jace. That's JP, a Michigan-Ohio State college football podcast dedicated to the greatest rivalry in all of sports, from River Radio Ministries and presented by our friends at Elevated Integrity Construction. We are, first off, so pumped to have so many new folks just finding this podcast. This is season 7 for us. And just in case you are brand new here, we've seen a ton of new subscribers on YouTube, ton of new downloads. Fantastic. Number one, first thing you should know is what we just said. This is a Michigan-Ohio State college football podcast, but we love college football. Yeah. And so we watch too much of it, and we like to talk about it. But we are focused each week on making sure that we keep all eyes on that last Saturday in November. We're credentialed with the University of Michigan football program, with Ohio State's football program. Was in Ann Arbor this weekend. You were in, we're in Columbus, but you were at the
I was there.
You were at the Horseshoe for Minnesota. And so please be sure to follow on social media. It's at RivalPod, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and continue to subscribe, rate, review. That's what helps kind of keep this small budget podcast thing moving. We appreciate you listening and sharing with friends. All that stuff means the world to us. Thank you for doing that. By the way, if you're here for like an X's and O's thing, you should also know this ain't that. You're here for vibes. Okay. You are here for strictly vibes, and that's it.
If you sit down and watch college football on Saturdays and you cheer with your heart, that's what you're here for.
That's what you're here for.
That's us to a T. If you're new here, one thing that we like to kick off the show with is a little thing called Wheel Route. And we've pivoted. We've done a little bit of a wheel route here in Audible, if you will. And we've kind of changed the way we've done this. So in the past, we would go through, we'd have a list of topics. We'd do a fun little picker wheel that would spin around, make some fun noises, and then it would choose. This year, we've been going a different direction because it feels like each week there's just something that should be talked about.
It's kind of like whoever first said, every single day there's a main character on the internet, and the job that you have every single morning is not to be that person.
Facts. And James Franklin has failed.
That person.
James Franklin has failed. Last week we talked about this man, and he said, I didn't get tired of hearing it. Let's hear some more. And our YouTube section, we had a video really kind of pop off. A lot of people have opinions on this. Some think we're idiots. Some are right on board with us. Others just don't like the guy. And you know what? We're here for that as well.
What's fascinating is one of the big things that I said after the Oregon loss for Penn State was, if not now for James Franklin, then when?
Yeah.
Here's a senior-laden team. This is not rocket science. This is the talking points you could get anywhere, to be honest with you. It's the senior-laden team built like Michigan's title run in 23, built like Ohio State's title run in 24. And they proceeded to answer the question of if not now, when, with the answer of never.
No. Simply no.
And again, I would have to have an actual like Penn State fan chime in the comments below, which obviously please do that. Like, is this the most embarrassing, worst loss in Penn State history? As an outsider looking in, I mean, I can't imagine there's been a worse one coming off a loss like you had against Oregon, 4 touchdown favorites against a winless team, national championship and Big Ten hopes still alive. Yeah. And you put out whatever that was.
Well, what was it? Somebody in our YouTube comments just this weekend after the UCLA loss commented and said, this was the worst one in program history, even over, I think it was Lehigh that beat them like into the early James Franklin years, because people kind of already assumed what he was taking in and that they were kind of going to be in a little bit of a slow rebuild to start. But even our comment section has been kind of divided on this. We had a handful of people that, in fairness, said his buyout is too big. He's also the winningest coach percentage-wise in Penn State history. He's second in gonna be second in wins. Thought it would have been this weekend, and then he said no.
They get Northwestern, which apparently is going to be a big game now.
I don't trust any of it now. So he has the chance to go, and he will be eventually. He'll be the second winningest coach in program history. The guy routinely has this program even if you disagree or you know that they're going to lose the big games, he comes into each year and you can look at that team and go, this is a 9 to 10 win team. They'll be in it. They'll have some really big games. And so they've gotten back to at least some relevancy there. And I've had the question asked in our comments, if not him, then who? And I think that's fair because,
but also, I mean, it's fair, but also the question has got to be, are you content with being Iowa, or do you want to be Michigan and Ohio State?
That's where I would stand. I think if you're a program like Penn State, the answer is no. He's not doing good enough. That's just a matter of fact. Because
now you're not just big game James. It's little game James also. Well, what are we doing?
Who was it? It was somebody. It was Annie. I always mispronounce her name. Agar.
Yeah. Okay.
Famous social media person. You've probably seen her videos everywhere that she said James Franklin got so tired of hearing people talk about how he can't win the big games that he decided to lose the small games as well.
And that's exactly
chess, not checkers.
And that's exactly it. If you're Penn State, I don't know where you go from here, because you could sit here as a Penn State fan or as a Penn State program and say, well, if we beat Indiana and we beat Ohio State, everything's in front of us. Yeah, I guess.
I disagree.
I guess. But
disagree.
So there's a world in which you could bend this to feel like Ohio State after the Michigan loss. There's a world in which you can bend it that way. I don't think that that's a fair assessment. Penn State has not beat a Power 4 team yet this year. This was a preseason national championship favorite whose best win is currently Florida International University, which is a real school. How is that your best win? You've played 2 Power 4 teams and you lost both of them.
This isn't week 3.
What are we doing here? And so if you're Penn State, I don't know where you go.
No, and after the game, one of the reporters asked Drew Aller, do you guys think you're still in the hunt? And he was like, what do you think? And they said, well, I don't know. And honestly, I'm glad I wasn't that reporter, because I said, well, Drew, you don't want to know what I think, because you ain't going to like the answer. And he still thinks that this is a team that's in the hunt. And the like disassociation from reality with them is just crazy. There is no circumstance where you watch them play Oregon at home and lose the way that they did, and then you see them go out and lay an egg against UCLA where the defensive scheme was just atrocious. This is a team that went out and made Jim Knowles the highest paid defensive coordinator in the nation at the time. In the last 2 games, that defense has allowed a combined 870 yards and 72 points.
Is that good?
It is not, and I am so glad. I was actually upset when Jim Knowles left. Now I'm thankful. Thank you, Penn State.
My brother and I were texting about this over the weekend, and he said, is Matt Patricia actually an upgrade from Jim Knowles? And again,
100%.
As a Lions fan, I'm going, I don't know if I'm willing to say that, but I mean, look at Penn State certainly not playing well.
Here's the thing with those coordinators, though, is you heard people questioning that move, and there are just some guys, and they questioned it last year with Ohio State and Chip Kelly even. There are just some guys who aren't cut out to be head coaches. They can really be experts on one side of the ball, and that was what Chip Kelly was known for, was his offense. And you saw what he was able to do when he was able to go and utilize talent that Ohio State had and be able to focus on that group. Same thing with Matt Patricia. Throw out the head coaching record. The guy knows defense. Him being able to go there and just be able to focus on that, you're seeing the results of it. But whatever's happening at Penn State, I mean, there's got to be a cutoff point. There's got to be a point where you look at that program and you have the fan base. That town wants to go crazy for the Lions. I
mean, it's the best atmosphere in college football.
Yeah, one of the best for sure. You can get the talent. There's no doubt about it. You have the money. The only thing stopping you right now is a coach.
Yeah, it's James Franklin in a hot dog costume. We're all trying to find the guy who did this.
Yeah, 100%.
That's more than enough on Penn State. Like if we bury James Franklin at this point,
same time next week, probably.
Why don't we? My guy, I'd say if Northwestern beats them, oh my goodness, but UCLA.
If Northwestern beats them, I can't bring him back for a 3rd time around the sun on wheel route, because at that point I'll feel like a bully. I
disagree. Let's talk about, speaking of bullying teams, how about Ohio State, Minnesota?
Man.
Now I want to be careful here, because I do have to play the Michigan side of this rivalry. But I've never been angry at the Minnesota Golden Gophers before. I've never had a problem with their fan base. I've got a couple friends who are Gopher fans. But we found like the two worst Minnesota fans in the world in our YouTube comments last week, because apparently when we said, hey, Minnesota's freshman quarterback is pretty good, but he probably can't hang with Ohio State and they've struggled with some lower level competition, we were told that we were being disrespectful to Drake Lindsay, that we were being disrespectful to Minnesota. And then they lost 42-3. And I do
struggled. And
I do feel like we owe an apology for overselling your team. Sorry that we didn't watch every Minnesota game. I don't have mediocre plus subscription. Ohio State, far and away.
Yeah.
Not just the better team, but Minnesota did not look good at all.
No, and I don't want this to turn into a let's trash Drake Lindsay contest, but let's throw him under the bus a little bit.
Because he is again, this is what we said last week would happen. He's a talented quarterback, but he was not going to significantly threaten Ohio State as much as I wanted him to.
Yeah. You can see the talent. Minnesota is what they thought we were. They're a middle-of-the-road Big Ten team, 5 to 6, maybe 7 in a good year win team. Drake Lindsay will be a good player for them in their program. He's a great building piece, but it's just a different animal when you get to Ohio State. Yeah. And I don't really care how much of a homer that sounds like. Drake Lindsay and Minnesota had a great first drive. Ohio State's red zone defense peered its head around a corner and said simply no.
Well, and you see this with a lot of teams, right? And we'll get to this when we talk about Wisconsin, Michigan, of teams have that scripted first drive, and it's incredibly difficult to stop it.
Yeah.
Not to jump all the way over, but Wisconsin drove down the field and scored a touchdown on Michigan and did nothing the rest of the game. Minnesota, same thing. Drove down, at least, took the lead, and you thought, okay, but if you really know football, you're looking at going, okay. And now when you get the ball again, what do you do with it?
And they did nothing.
And the answer was nothing.
No, I think there were some key stats that I wrote down, and there were some key answers that I think we got this weekend as well, and a little bit of foreshadowing, which I don't know if you'll agree with this or not.
I probably won't.
I think some of the key stats for me. We've agreed too much
so far on this podcast, and I don't care for it.
Ohio State's defense has yet to allow an opponent to score double digits all season. The most they've given up is 9 against Washington.
So close.
They held Minnesota to 162 total yards, 66 of which came on the very first opening drive. They held Minnesota to 1 of 11 on third downs, and they have yet to allow a red zone touchdown. Coach PJ Fleck, after the game, got on there and said it was one of the best defenses that he has seen in his 13 years of coaching. Some of the answers that we got, one big one with Julian saying, we talked about it last week after the Washington game. It felt very conservative. When were they going to kind of take the reins off of him and let him loose? I don't think that this was the game you point to, and that might be the one that surprises you.
That does surprise me a bit.
Mostly because I think that this was a game where they started to do that to get him comfortable for what we're about to see.
Okay.
And I have some stats as we get ready to preview into that, but I want to point out some stats with the Minnesota game first. Julian saying 23 of 27, 326, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Dude was just in control the entire time. The touch that he seems to have on his deep passes, maybe some of the best I've seen at Ohio State, and we've had some phenomenal quarterback play. The guy just drops it in a bucket. I was sitting there pregame, watching him warm up, and time again, I stopped even taking pictures because I just wanted to see it, where it's just the perfect placement. And granted, it's warm-ups, but it was perfect placement after perfect placement after perfect placement.
Well, it showed up, to your point, and I wouldn't say I've been critical of Sayin, but I've questioned, does Ohio State trust him enough? I've said, okay, you're accurate, but you don't wow me. I thought he looked great in this game.
Yeah.
And so I'll give him his flowers. I thought he looked really great in this game. I thought your defense continues to look really great. I am curious again, and it's hard to, in one sense, it's hard to nitpick a 42-3 win, but I think the one area of concern if I'm an Ohio State fan, or the one area of exploitation if I'm a Michigan fan, continues to be the run game. I still just don't see much from the run game that concerns me. Bo Jackson, we've talked about ad nauseum, is the clear RB1 for this team. But there's still just not a lot there, and I'm curious what that looks like against a better defense down the road. And obviously, I'm thinking about Michigan.
Yeah.
But what's it look like against a better defense down the road that does force you to run the ball a little bit more. And if you can't do it, what does that do? Because we saw what happened last November.
Yeah, and I don't even know if I agree with that because they outrushed Minnesota 135-68, and Minnesota was one of the top defenses as far as rushing goes in the Big Ten leading up to this game. They were allowing like 60 yards per game. It's something we talked about last week as this is a thing that's going to not decide the game, but that you're going to really be looking at. I thought Bo Jackson answered the call well, but I thought it was pretty evident that their game plan wasn't going to be the ground game. I thought it was very clear, hey, we're going to go out there and we're going to toss this thing around. And I think that was intentional. I think it was intentional for the Illinois game specifically.
Yeah, let's talk about Illinois, because Illinois is coming into this game as a, and I'll let you start off here, but I'll just say for now, I don't know what to do with Illinois.
Mm-hmm. I do.
I've watched the games. I've looked at, gone back through. I've looked at this, stat lines, and Illinois is a very confusing football team because you will get have the doors blown off you by Indiana, who, by the way, is a good football team, but still, you gave up 70 points. You got beat, 63-10, 70-10, whatever it was. I lost track. I went to bed. But yet you turn around and can beat USC? Like, I don't know what to do with that inconsistency. So I'm curious what you think and what you're looking at coming into this game as an Ohio State fan.
Yeah, this was one that I think a lot of Buckeye fans had marked on their calendars pretty early on. It's still obviously going to be a big game, but I think there are some glaring weaknesses for Illinois. And I think you saw some of the game plan that they had against Minnesota was intentional to get Julian Sayin ready for this game. If you look at the last couple of games, the last 3 games for the Illinois defense, they're allowing opponents on average about 507 total yards per game.
Is that good?
Last week versus Purdue, they allowed 453 total yards, 300 of those through the air. Against USC, they gave up 364 yards through the air, almost 500 yards of offense. Against Indiana, they allowed almost 600 yards of total offense. Even against Duke, in a game in which they won 45-19 or something like that, they were outgained in total yardage and gave up 438 yards total. This defense is not good. You know what helps Ohio State? That they have a pretty dang good offense, especially through the air.
I just tried to look up the Illinois-Duke score, and it pulled up basketball, and Duke scored 110 points. I'm going to believe that was football.
I wish. That game was a lot. I don't want to say closer because Illinois' defense did force 5 turnovers, which is a great performance from them. They gave up a lot of yards in doing it, and the score doesn't ultimately really reflect that. But this defense is weak, in my opinion. I don't have a lot of respect for them.
I agree with that.
And I have a lot of respect for Ohio State's defense, and I have a heck of a lot of respect for guys named Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate. And honestly, Max Clare now. He had a great game against Minnesota. Now, what I said in the Minnesota recap is that I thought that their game plan for that with Julian Sayin was intentional, not because they felt they needed it against Minnesota, but they needed something like that kind of a confidence booster, that kind of a performance from Julian Sayin to be able to lead into this game, because you saw it against Washington. They were a little more conservative. They knew that there were going to be times where he was on the road where they were going to need him to step up and throw the ball. And so I felt like the game plan for Minnesota was intentional for him to go out there and sling the rock around the way that he did, take some deep shots, not be as conservative, not because they were playing lesser talent, although I think, sure, that was the case. I think it was to get his confidence up, to get to get him ready to go on the road and play an Illinois team where they know that one of the glaring weaknesses of that defense is through the air. You saw the stats that I just read off: 364 yards through the air against USC. Indiana absolutely torched them. You saw Purdue with 300 plus yards through the air. Purdue with 300 plus yards through the air. And I think they gave up 27 or something against Purdue. Yeah. Ohio State should be able to move the ball up and down the field at will. I think for this game, I don't want to get too cocky because I think that's where it gets dangerous.
I was going to say, you sound extremely confident, and that is usually where things do not end well.
I am very confident. I think if Ohio State goes out there and they just play their game, this isn't going to be close.
What you got?
Where I think that this gets close is if they allow Altmaier to go out there and make some big plays through the air and on his feet. He's got a great wide receiver right now, the Hank Beatty, that has been playing well. The offense is fine. I don't have a lot of questions with Illinois' offense. It strictly comes down to defense, and I trust Ohio State's defense. They've not allowed double digits all year. I don't think Illinois has an outstanding offense. I think Washington is leaps and bounds ahead of what you see in Illinois, and I just don't trust their defense. I got Ohio State 27, Illinois 10. I do think they get double digits.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, it's fascinating. I don't disagree with a lot of what you said, and again, I try not to disagree with you just for the sake of disagreeing. I enjoy disagreeing with you. That's why we do this podcast. But I think you're spot on with your analysis of Illinois, though. They score a lot of points and they give up a lot of points. It reminds me, and again, that we saw these two teams play, but they remind me of kind of cornfield USC, right? I mean,
that's what they've been called.
Many people are calling Illinois cornfield USC. Where the offense is clicking, the offense puts up points, the defense is just nothing to write home about. It's not terribly good. Illinois does not run the ball terribly well. And to, I think, wear down Ohio State's defense as good as they are, you kind of have to be able to run the ball. Mm-hmm. Both teams rely on the passing game as the engine, but the way you beat Ohio State is with defense. Like, ask Michigan. Like, look at a bad Michigan team last year. How did you beat Ohio State? Yeah, some of it was running the ball for sure, but also like it was Michigan's defense that won that game for them. You are unlikely, not saying it can't happen, but you are unlikely to beat Ohio State in a shootout. Like if it's a point grab, no defense, you're probably not not going to be able to overcome the level of Ohio State's defense and keep pace with Ohio State's offense. Even as I mentioned last week, they have not looked like unbeatable death machine, but they looked really good this past weekend.
But they've made baby steps. I think saying this last week against Minnesota,
I think was as good as he's looked.
Was a great step forward to be in that.
The way Illinois is built is to just run the score up and it's football, right? But to score more points than you, right? Yeah. But it's to get into these high scoring games, and it works against lesser or comparable teams. I don't think it works against the nation's best teams. I just don't
think, even if Illinois came out and had their greatest, if Ohio State plays clean, if they don't commit a turnover, they don't get penalized a ton to give Illinois extra chances, I just don't see the firepower that the Illini have to score more than 20. And I think to be able to beat this Ohio State team with as good as this defense had played, you've got to score 28 plus to even give yourself a chance.
It's weird that you say 20 because that's exactly how many I think Illinois scores. I've got Ohio State 34 and Illinois 20. I think Ohio State will not have much trouble with this defense. Now, I think you mentioning the turnovers for Illinois is a key here because like you mentioned the Duke game, and obviously Duke and Ohio State not comparable, but had a fantastic game against Duke in the turnover department. Still give up a ton of yards. Forced USC into one, if not two turnovers as well, I believe, in that game. I mean, and by the way, Illinois on the offensive side fumbled the ball into the end zone twice against USC and still won that game. So the offense should be good, but I just don't think the combination of Ohio State's defense combined with how porous that Illinois defense is, I don't think they've got enough to keep pace with Ohio State in this one. I hope I'm wrong.
Well, of course, it'd be weird if you didn't.
I would really enjoy. Listen, Brett Bielema is one of the most unlikable coaches in college football. I'm not saying I'm cheering for him. I'm cheering for his players.
Okay.
It ain't going to make a difference. Now,
34-20?
34-20 for Ohio State in this one. Now, maybe, just maybe, you feel a little bit like James Franklin and Penn State. You're trying to build like a champion, but you might not know how to execute it because Drew Aller is still your quarterback and your defense can't stop Nico Iamaleava. Aaron and the team at Elevated Integrity Construction have a winning pedigree and a team of All-Americans. A juggernaut of the industry, they've built a dynasty of championship builders. If you have a home, church, or business build, go with the folks with integrity in their name at elevatedintegrity.com. Rivalry Podcast, also a proud member this year of the Varsity Network, powered by Learfield. Glad to be back for another season with them. The Varsity Network is the must-have app if you call yourself a college football fan, which if you're listening here, I'm going to assume that you do.
Sure would hope.
Otherwise, what are you doing here? Live broadcasts, on-demand podcasts just like this one. Free to download, find the Varsity Network in the App Store, and be sure to search for the Rivalry Podcast.
Is it time? Can we talk about Michigan yet?
Not yet, because we got one more sponsor to read. This is an important one because the Rivalry Podcast is proud to partner with our friends at Homage. If you're watching on YouTube right now, I am wearing my Detroit Tigers Homage shirt in the hopes that maybe they could pay off runners in scoring position. I don't expect them to be able to do that. But Homage, since 2007, has been helping fans pay homage to the people, places, teams, and moments that matter most to them. Quality craftsmanship, elite storytelling, and trademarked legendary comfort. And whether you're an Ohio State fan or a Lions or Tigers fan, oh my, whatever. Is that Lions, Tigers, and Bears? Whatever. You get it. Go into the YouTube description or the podcast description. You'll see a link there. You can get yourself your own Homage merch. When you do it at that link, you help support the podcast as well. If you want to get your own rivalry merch or support the podcast that way, or just throw a few dollars our way, again, small budget podcast, everything helps. Rivalpod.com and click on support or shop. I don't remember what the tab says, but that's where you can do that.
It's pretty obvious.
Yes. Now we can talk about Michigan.
So you were on field for this, which I know because we're the same kind of person. It was cool, but you also hated it at the same time. I think it would have been more fun had it been a bigger blowout for you.
Well, yeah, it's just a... Because usually if I'm covering the games, usually I'm at press level, and so you get to watch the game and it's kind of like it's like live TV, right? Like you're watching like a fan in a lot of senses. When you're doing photo stuff, which I've not done before until this weekend, it's just a different experience where you know what's happening, but it's kind of hard to tell where things are. And so it was just a different way to watch the game. It also was supposed to be kind of just an easygoing afternoon. And then it was kind of an annoying first half. Yeah. And then Michigan pulls away at the end. Also, it was 107 degrees.
I was going to say, it was so hot.
It was awful.
On Saturday.
Like
I was actually very thankful Ohio State was at night because it got down to probably like low 70s, high 60s when I left, and it was just awesome. That sounds perfect.
No, but a great experience. Always happy to be there. Always thankful for Dave Abloff helping us out there. But yeah, so Michigan, Wisconsin was. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to look at this game and go, all right, that was a very sleepy first half for Michigan. I think Wisconsin had like 10 more yards than Michigan at the half, which you're kind of box score hopping. You go,
bingo card.
Wait, what? And again, a lot of that though for Michigan, and Michigan ends up outpacing them by like 200 yards at the end of the day. The second half was much better. That first scripted drive for Wisconsin, we talked about this with Minnesota as well. Even though like, okay, what are they going to do after this? It's still frustrating because Michigan didn't tackle terribly well on that drive, gave up one, maybe two third down plays. It's just not the vibe that you want to start off a game like that with, right? I will tell you though, I went back just because I was curious and said, okay, after the opening touchdown drive, what were the remainder of Wisconsin's drives like? So glad you asked. Let me read to you. Let me read to you the rest of Wisconsin's drives. Got to make sure I get the number of these correct. Punt, 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 interception, punt, field goal. So Michigan kind of figured it out. And by figured it out, I mean that Wisconsin could do absolutely nothing outside of that opening drive.
Well, it's easy when the defense goes against the third string quarterback. I mean, come on.
Rough. I mean, yeah, Wisconsin's just not a good football team. Credit to them. I mean, their defensive line is, again, they came in with like the number one rush defense in the country. That's a bit of fool's gold there, but I do think that their defensive line is a decent defensive line. Michigan still manages to run for a lot on this team, and I'm blanking on exactly how many Michigan ran for off the top of my head here. Michigan ran for 175. So, I mean, that's. I think Wisconsin was averaging giving up like 70 yards.
It was less than that. I thought they were only giving up like 50 on the ground.
It might have been 50. You're right. It was 50 because Alabama had like 70 something on them. So Michigan runs for 175, passes for 270. I mean, the first half was one of those games where you go, okay, this looks like a team coming off a bye. They looked rusty. They looked sleepy. I loved the way that Michigan came out of the second half, though, and started throwing the ball around. I thought that was exactly what they needed to do. Michigan had I couldn't believe this. Michigan had nearly the same rushing yards first half to second half. It was like off by a yard. So they split the run game pretty evenly, but went from 55 passing yards in the first half to 215 in the second. And I think the number one place you can point to is kind of what we've been harping on for weeks. It's amazing what actually catching the football can do. There were probably 3 or 4 passes from Bryce that went, okay, he just missed a guy. Not a good throw, and you go, okay, cool, freshman quarterback, that's fine. You have got to help your quarterback out. I mean, we'll get to the good here, and the good would be Donovan McCulley. The good would be Andrew Marsh. Samaj Morgan's got to catch the football. And when
he's been inconsistent all year.
And we've talked about this. He's hot and cold, and I think the kid is incredibly talented. But even some of the catches he had the catch where he then bobbles the catch and then catches it, then fumbles the ball and then falls back on it. You can't do that. You've got to be able to catch the ball. Kendrick Bell, again, God love him, but he's wide open. Nobody around him for 20 yards there at the end of the third quarter. Is the ball a little high? Yeah, I guess, because Bryce is on the run. You have to catch that. There's no one around you. And while you can get away with it against Wisconsin, can you get away with it against USC? Probably not. Against Michigan State, rivalry game? Probably not. Against Ohio State? Definitely not. And so I think that's the big frustration coming out of this is I can forgive a first half bye week, coming off bye week slow start there. Second half looked fantastic, but my big question moving forward is, can you get consistency from this passing attack? Because you have got to, your quarterback is young. He's going to make a few mistakes, but you've got to help him out. If he's putting the ball in your hands, you have got to come down with the football. And so that was the frustrating piece of this for me. The exciting piece of it for me was just, I don't even know if we could say the emergence of Donovan McCulley, but the way that Michigan started utilizing McCulley and
the
Marsh.
Expectations with him this season were high. This felt like the first game that he lived up to those.
I would agree with that. And he's been good, but this felt like McCulley is now and he both has been and hasn't been, but that's your guy. We've been, everyone's been saying this since the offseason. Like, he's clear wide receiver 1, treat him like one. They treated him like one. And shout out Andrew Marsh, who has made some very freshman mistakes in this first 5 games in maize and blue. He looked really good on Saturday. He looked better than some of the.
He had some great catches.
Again, and I hate to throw Samaj under the bus, but he looked better than upperclassmen like Samaj. And so it'll be curious to see. And there were rumors that he was going to be featured in this game. It'll be curious to see if they continue, and I think they should continue to feed McCulley and Marsh in that order. Obviously, you've got Marlon Klein in there. Hogan Hansen is hopefully back from injury next week. He was questionable this week, did not play. If those are kind of if those 2 receivers and your whoever's out at tight end, if those are your guys and you're feeding them, I feel pretty good about that. Justice Haynes continues to do Justice Haynes type things. Michigan overcomes a slow start, plays very well in the second half. The defense continues to be just very good. And go ahead. I know you've got some thoughts maybe on Wisconsin.
I just kind of have a question because, obviously we're both viewing this from different lens. And so while I don't disagree, because I've said the same thing about Ohio State before, and you've said the same thing that I'm going to ask you back to me, but you look at a game like this, where Wisconsin's coming into this game, they're going to the Big House. It's a home game for the Wolverines. The talent level, the gap is just massive. It was already not a great Wisconsin team.
Yeah.
Then they come in and they're on their 3rd string, not even their backup. Danny O'Neill's not even in this game.
No, he absolutely was. Danny O'Neill absolutely played in this game.
He didn't do anything.
But he played in this game.
But
so don't say he wasn't in the game. He played in the game.
It didn't matter. They were on their 3rd string for a majority of that game. And it still was an ugly win in my book.
Yeah.
24-10 just shouldn't satisfy you as a Wolverine fan. I understand at the same time, a 14-point win is a 14-point win. It was a 2-touchdown score. All that. I get it. I think Underwood started to get his legs underneath of him in the second half. He played well in the second half, all that. But as a collective whole, is there even a part of you that watches a game like this, seeing the slow start against a bad team, where I look at it the same as I would look at a Nebraska last year for Ohio State, where it starts a little slow and then you finally figure it out. It doesn't leave even honestly the Ohio game this year for Ohio State.
I was going to
say you don't look good in the first half, but I would even argue that Ohio State, that first half against Ohio, still looked dominant against them. Whereas the first half for this Michigan-Wisconsin game, I didn't think that there was that big of separation between the two teams at the time.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that there was a lot of separation in the first half, but I think you could also. I think it was also at the same time apparent like who the better team was, and I think once you got into the second half, I mean, even midway through the third quarter, it was still 10-7 or whatever. I mean, but there wasn't much question about, okay, Michigan is clearly going to pull away.
Everybody knew that that Michigan was going to end up winning that game, but I just feel like kind of brushing it off and going, well, they played great the second half and it was still a dominant win doesn't truly tell the story, because it's still a very ugly win in a game that in my mind should have been like what Minnesota-Ohio State was, where maybe Wisconsin gets a little bit more on the board and puts up a little bit better of a fight, but it felt like we should have watched similar games from both of our teams.
Yeah, I mean,
to go out there and only score 24 when you got Bryce Underwood, who's been hyped up as one of the best freshmen in the nation, and I think you can see the talent is there, but there's been a bit of inconsistencies with him this year, where he seems to get it figured out, but for a half, maybe even some of the full games, and we'll get to this with USC, but there seems to be full games where he really looks like a freshman and that he's not ready for the moment. Then there are games like this past week where he looks like butt for the first half. Just looks bad. And then he starts to figure it out and he ends up having a decent game. Is any of that, as a Michigan guy, concerning at all?
The Bryce stuff continue. You ask me this every week. The Bryce stuff is not concerning to me. He threw for 270 yards. I'm not concerned about that. I'm concerned about the drops from wide receivers that are wide open, but I'm not concerned about Bryce Underwood. I completely disagree with that. I don't disagree that this was not a polished looking win for Michigan. I think they dominated the second half, but I don't think anybody can walk away and say, well, I feel fantastic about that win. Mm-hmm. I don't feel bad about it because, again, a
win is a win.
Well, let's be real, a sluggish first half that you still win by 2 touchdowns is better than being Penn State or Texas.
It's a lot of things better than being a Penn State fan.
And so it's... I liked to have seen them play a full 60 minutes. Yeah, absolutely. Was it frustrating to go into the half and have it be 10-7? Yeah, it really was. But also there was not much doubt that Michigan was going to pull away in this game. And so while I agree that it's a sluggish half of football and you have to play full games, especially as we move into USC here, I don't think that that's a long-standing concern for me.
So let's talk a little bit about this USC game, because this is one, even back into the preseason,
ooh, buddy. Yeah,
we both were really excited about, because you're traveling on the road. You're going West Coast here,
where Michigan has not had a lot of success.
Yeah. What's your initial thought? And you guys avoided the night game, at least on their end.
Yeah. So Michigan, and I did not realize this, has not played at USC proper, meaning not a Rose Bowl game. Mm-hmm. Michigan has not played at USC since 1957. That's insane. What
was the score of that game?
I have no idea. I don't know.
Wow.
I didn't get that
far.
So
you looked all that up.
Yeah. I know that they've played them in 7 Rose Bowls since then and lost all but 1, which is not encouraging to me at all. So their last win over USC away from Ann Arbor was 1988. Now, they've only played 3 since then, 89, 03, and 06, but they did lose all of those Rose Bowls to USC. Yeah, so this is a fascinating game and probably would have, fascinating game, probably would have more national luster if USC had not gone beat by Illinois, right? I mean, if USC was top 20, Michigan is I think now ranked 15th in the AP poll, would probably have more national attention. That doesn't, the rankings don't matter a lick.
No.
These are 2 different styles of football teams, but 2 very
feels similar to the Ohio State Washington game, where Washington came into that game unranked, but you look at this team and go, this is a really good football team.
Yeah, and again, hindsight's 2020, because I obviously thought Washington would win that game. Hindsight's 2020. This feels like 2 very even football teams. I mean, the spread opened at 1.5.
Yeah.
I mean, that and that may have even moved since I last looked.
I forget what I saw that this morning. I double checked and then forgot all of it.
So what's tricky about this USC team is it's hard to tell what's real and what's not. Like with a lot of football teams at this point in the season, you can tell what was fool's gold and what's like actual like bona fide, okay, this is worth something. USC is kind of hard to tell. So let's start with the defense, right? This USC defense is absolutely susceptible, right? They gave up 300 passing yards to Purdue. I would hazard a guess that Michigan's offense is better than Purdue's. But this kind of comes back to one of the issues that I had in the Wisconsin game and that Michigan has had this year, which is Michigan's receivers have to take advantage of the opportunities they're going to be given, right? So Samaj Morgan is wide open and the ball hits you in the hands. Son, you better catch the ball, right? You cannot play a half of football where you continue to drop wide open passes. But the defense is susceptible in the passing game and in the run game. That's where Michigan's going to excel, right? I mean, Justice Haynes should have a big highlight around him because he's going to control a lot of the outcome of this football game. If you can go on some Michigan-esque drives and wear down an already somewhat inept defense, hold the ball for 6.5 minutes. I mean, that's Michigan branded football, right? That's Big Ten, big boy football. That's how Michigan wins a game like this. You should be able to pass on this team, much like you passed on Wisconsin. But if you play with your food, and not that USC is playing with the food, but you get my point. If you goof around for a half, you may find yourself in so much of a hole that you can't climb out of it. On the offensive side, and this is where I just go, I'm trying to determine what's legitimate and what's not, because the defenses USC have played have not been good. They've played Purdue. They've played Illinois. I think they played Georgia Southern in there. Like, these are not great. They played Michigan State. These are not good defenses. Yeah. And yet I happen to believe that this offense is one of the best in the country.
Because it's still hard. Like, your point's not wrong, but also you got to take it with a little bit of salt, because it's hard to put up 500 plus yards per game.
And they're doing it consistently.
Right now, I think they're doing 565 is what I had them at.
And so that's where I would say there's something to that. Like the idea that, the USC offense is just good because they're playing bad defenses. Yeah, maybe it's inflated a little bit. That's legit. Jaden Mayava is one of the best quarterbacks in the country. Mekhi Lemon is one of, if not, and I know Jeremiah Smith is one of, if not the best wide receiver in the country. He is not
the best, but he is one of them.
And frankly, I don't know that he's getting the national attention, but Waymon Jordan at running back is fantastic. And so, what does the Michigan defense do with that? When life gives you lemons, what do you do? Maybe bracket off the lemon so they can't. Maybe bracket off the lemon and make someone else beat you. I don't know. And they've got some other guys like Jacoby Lane, but I mean,
you really missed the chance to say throw in a Berry and talk about Zeke Berry there. I just want you to know.
No, let's say that I was aware of it and decide not to do that.
Sure.
So that's the USC side of the ball is the defense. The defense is definitely susceptible. The offense is very legitimate. And so on the Michigan side, Michigan's offense, I think, is good. I don't think they're great yet. I think they could be. I think they're good. Justice Haynes, Jordan Marshall, I think those running backs should have success against this defense. The receiving core will have, I'll put it this way, they will have opportunities to pass the ball on this team, right? But my concern is if we've got this hot and cold receiving thing going on again, when you've got an offense like that staring across from you, I mean, how many drives has Michigan had killed this year because guys are just dropping balls? I'm not talking about bad passes from Bryce. Yeah, that happens. I'm talking about balls that are thrown right to guys and they drop them. And it either ends a drive or puts you way behind the sticks and now you're looking at second or third and long. When you've got Jaden Mayava standing across on the other sideline and you're giving him free possessions, maybe not free possessions, but you're going, this hot and cold feast or famine Michigan drive thing where it's either we score a touchdown or we go 3 and out. If you're giving him a bunch of extra possessions, that doesn't bode well for you. On the defensive side of the ball, and I think this is where I am most interested, and maybe that's not maybe that's a pretty normal thing. Maybe this is the matchup that everyone's watching for. I am most interested in that USC offense against the Michigan defense, because I think the Michigan linebackers, the Michigan defensive line, I think are really good. The secondary concerns me still. I think they've been fine, but I don't think they've been great. They are going to have to be great on Saturday. Now, I do think that dynamic shifts with Rod Moore coming back. Rod Moore, by the way, getting that interception. Let's ignore the fact that Jair Hill interfered with the receiver, but Rod Moore getting that interception. I mean, how can, like, rivalries aside, how can you not be happy for that kid?
Very easy
to fight back from that injury, to overcome all of that, to get the interception, get back on the field. I mean, that's just good stuff right there. Rod Moore being back on the field does change the feel of that Michigan secondary. My question's going to still be, though, whoever lines up on Mekhi Lemon, whether it's Zeke Berry or Jair Hill or however Wink wants to structure this, can you keep up with him? And I have my doubts. I'm not making the prediction yet, but I'm just telling you I have my doubts. I want to hear you summarize this game. I want to hear your prediction, and then I'll give you mine.
Well, that's a first, but I will go ahead and take that.
Okay.
I think there's one big thing that you missed in this when you were giving your kind of preview for this. And while USC's defense as a whole is atrocious, there is one bright spot to that defense that you missed. Right now, they rank top 10 in the nation in sacks. I think they have 17, maybe it's 19 on the season. The one thing that defense does well is gets to the quarterback. One key piece to this Michigan offense where I think you've seen some major flaws, especially in Bryce Underwood, is in big games on the road. I look at the Oklahoma game. I look at the Nebraska game. His two worst performances, both of those games, he had very underwhelming performances in my mind. The Oklahoma game, as we all saw, one of the big reasons that he struggled in that is because of the defensive line for Oklahoma. So I think that's going to be really interesting to see how effective is that D-line going to be at getting to him, making him uncomfortable. And given his track record so far in big games on the road, he's just not played well. So I have major concerns there where that's the stuff that I'm going to be watching is, can this be a game where he actually goes out and performs like he has at home, like the second half of Wisconsin, or is he going to continue to struggle? Can USC's defensive line get to him early, get to him often? They don't have to get the sack, but they need to make him uncomfortable.
See, and I don't know that I agree with you about the Nebraska game. Because the stat line, the passing yard stat line wasn't phenomenal, but also Michigan ran for what, 250 yards on the ground there. And Bryce also used his legs a ton.
He had the one for what, 40 yards, which was great, but the rest of that was carried by Justice Haynes and Marshall.
But my point being though that you didn't have to throw the ball like crazy, and he was effective on the ground. And him being effective on the ground opens up everything else too.
But my point is, you're gonna, if you're gonna go that direction, then you're gonna have to get into a shootout to beat this USC team. And I think at that point you're gonna have to throw the ball. And so, like later on in this, one of the things that I had is the same thing you've seen all season with Michigan. Justice Haynes is going to be heavily relied on. Mm-hmm. He has been the MVP of your entire team all season long. Yeah. Time and time again, when you need a big run, a big play, your offense is struggling, who's the one that comes out on top? I texted you this weekend. He's been your Khalil Mullins this season, where early last year, that guy carried your team on his back.
Against USC. Yeah. Against USC. Literally against USC.
So I'm looking at that and I'm going, okay, if I'm looking at how this Michigan team has performed so far this year, where on the road in big games, I've seen Underwood struggle. And the Nebraska game was a good point because, yeah, he made some plays on his legs, but I don't think that's going to be enough. I think you're going to have success through the air against USC. That's not going to have to be the dominant part of your game, but you're going to have to be somewhat more successful than you were against Nebraska.
Do you think so? You're to summarize here, you're saying that you think that USC will create enough chaos for him that he's not able to be effective through the air?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I don't
agree with you, but that's okay.
And that's fine. I wouldn't expect you to. USC's offense, I think, is legit. I think it's going to be obviously one of the biggest tests Michigan's defense has to face. And it's on the road, which I think helps tremendously for them.
That does. Hit me with your score.
I've got Michigan 24, USC 35.
When you started with Michigan, I really thought you were going to take Michigan.
Never. I would
35-24 for USC. Yeah, well, I mean, I'll tell you this. I'll give you my prediction. I'll tell you that I flip-flopped on this because I could see this going a couple different ways, right? I mean, I could see Michigan's defense being stout enough to keep. I mean, Michigan's defense is going to keep them in any football game that they play. But I could see them being stout enough to give the offense, even if they have some of those 3-and-out issues or some drops, I could see them giving the offense enough opportunities. I could also see USC's offense just absolutely skyrocket and take off. So here's what I expect offensively for Michigan. I expect the game plan that we've been seeing from Chip Lindsey, which I think has been very good. I expect that to continue. McCauley and Marsh going to continue to feature more heavily in the passing game. I think Haynes creates chunk plays. I do think Bryce will be effective passing the ball, and I do think with his legs, I think he can burn him a few times. Defensively, I am concerned about covering guys like Mekhi Lemon.
As you should be.
Now, I will say this too. Last year, understandably so, I was very concerned in the Ohio State game about how in the world are we going to cover Jeremiah Smith? And they did. To their credit, they did. The problem is that USC, unlike Ohio State last year, also has a functional run game. I think Waymon Jordan is highly underrated. And here's what makes USC dangerous is that they can beat you over the top. They can run play action and hand it off. They can also run the screen really effectively. They've got a lot of speed. And Michigan doesn't have Mason Graham or Kenneth Grant. And so I'm fearful that the run may prove as potent as the pass for USC. And at some point, do you end up with too many weapons to keep track of? So here we go. I think Michigan's offense is talented enough. I think USC's defense is porous enough for Michigan to put up points. I think USC's offense is the real deal. Here's what's going to make the difference for me. I think you've got a case of great versus good and good versus bad. Here's what I mean. I think you've got a great USC offense against a good Michigan defense. I think that favors USC, and I think USC will put up some points. On the other side, though, I think you have a good, not great, but a good Michigan offense against a mediocre to bad USC defense. And so if I'm looking at great versus good and good versus bad, I'm probably going to take Michigan. I would probably have a more balanced, hey, our offense isn't elite, but our offense is good and our defense is good.
So what's your prediction?
Versus we've got an elite offense and we can't stop anybody. Give me Michigan 31, USC 28 in a game that will take 10 years off my life.
Is it ending with a Zvada boom?
I don't know. I haven't gotten that far.
How poetic after he missed like a 27-yarder this.
Well, you know why though, right? They completely botched the snap.
Oh, I did not see that. No.
So I didn't catch again live just because my angle. I didn't catch it. I just went, how in the world did he? Because I'm expecting. It's automatic from there. But no, go back. I mean, go back and watch the kick. They dropped the snap. Or the snap was bad. They dropped the hold,
with
whatever.
The snap at home against Michigan. Who
that would
thunk?
never happen. So that one's not on him. No, I've got 31-28. I think this game is going to be this should be a phenomenal football game. I really do. And I flip-flopped. I had when I was first going over my notes for this podcast, I had USC. I buy the Michigan defense enough. I buy the Michigan defense enough to get Michigan the win. 31-28. And again, get the antacid tablets ready, man, because this is not going to be fun. You will not sit
down for a second of that game, and
dude,
I love it.
I will pace. I'm going to have to put on like my Strava or whatever and just see how many miles I walk in the living room during the course of this game. All right, let's get to the wider college football world here. Some college football pick'em predictions and pontifications, if you will. Some really good football this weekend.
Man,
some really good football. Let's start off with Alabama at Mizzou. Alabama comes off a massive win against Vanderbilt. Who would have thought that sentence would ever be said?
That sentence 5 years ago?
Bama's favored in this game slightly, but Alabama Mizzou that's going to be one of the best games of the weekend.
I've got Alabama in this one. I know I've been texting you. We've talked about this a handful of times of when do we finally get on the bandwagon and start to believe maybe this Bama team is legit. I think I'm getting there. Ty Simpson, after the Florida State game, I kind of was like, okay, well, this guy's going to be a trash quarterback for them, and just was kind of ignorant. And the guy's just been playing excellent. He's played really great football. Each week I'm getting more and more on board with him being back, and I just can't pick against them right now. I can. Stop it. I can. I think Bo Perbula is playing fantastic football. Penn State fans wish they would have kept him. Oh, yikes. What's fascinating is I really don't think it would have mattered. It probably wouldn't have, but at least it would have given you some hope. Because there's a man there named Frames Janklin. I don't think it matters. I'm going to take Mizzou in this one. I think Mizzou at home.
I understand that Alabama is riding high after beating Vandy, who is a good football team, after beating Georgia, who's a good football team. I'm not trying to take anything away from that, but I'll also say Georgia should have lost to Tennessee. And had they done that, Georgia would be sitting at 2-2 right now. And that win would feel a lot less massive. Alabama also lost to Florida State, who got beat by Virginia and then got manhandled by Miami until they tried to make it look close at the end. Mm-hmm. I'll take Mizzou in this one. I do not care for Mizzou. Their coach drives me up the wall, but I think they get a signature win here. Another fascinating game. This one, I know how you feel about this one already.
Good.
But my guy, Indiana at Oregon, as a 7th and 3rd ranked matchup.
Yawn.
Oregon favored by a touchdown. What do you mean yawn?
Boring.
What are you taking?
It's no.
Dare
Oregon,
I ask?
Oregon. If Indiana cares about swaying my opinion, which they should, then
which they clearly do.
Yeah, they clearly should. This is a must win for Cignetti. I'm tired of hearing the trash talk. I'm tired of hearing about how good Indiana is. They are the little brother of Penn State, where until they win a big game against a really good Big Ten opponent, I'm not buying it. And Illinois, everybody wanted to hype up what they did. That's an impressive win. I'm not taking it away because you just dismantled that team and flat out embarrassed them. That's impressive. But I'm also not going to sit here. You just heard me talk about Ohio State, Illinois. I'm not high on Illinois being that great of a football team.
I put 60 plus on it.
It's a good win. I'm not trying to discredit that. But there's just no way. I saw Oregon. I'm a believer in Oregon. I think that they're going to be going and competing for the Big Ten championship back-to-back years. Dan Lanning's a stud. Dante Moore is a Heisman favorite.
That would be crazy to see Oregon go back-to-back, and I'm excited for Michigan to get a chance to play them this year.
It's just not going to happen. If Indiana wins this game, I'll eat crow and I'll come back on here and talk about how wrong I was. I'll give Cignetti all my respect. But until they do that, they are a trash pile to me.
Just the vitriol. And this is why we get angry fans in our comment section. Because again, no one has ever been mad at Indiana football, and you're going to make people upset.
I am after last season. They just came into Ohio State acting like they were big, bad, and tough, and then we dismantled them and sent them on their way back to Indiana, and then now all of a sudden we're back. Trust us. Believe us this time. Look what we did to Illinois. And Illinois is like, you hate us?
That's a rivalry game.
No,
okay.
Who cares?
I'm going to take Oregon. I'm not going to listen.
If you would have said Indiana, I would have stopped.
I have much more faith in Indiana than you do, but not enough to take him. Oregon at 7.5.
I like Mendoza. I really do. I think he's a genuinely good quarterback. I like him better than Rourke last year. I just am not there yet.
The Red River shootout, or it's now the Red River rivalry, or whatever. The Red River something or other. This game is
way more interesting.
Well, it's both less fascinating and more fascinating at this point. So Oklahoma, obviously, without John Mateer. Texas, though, coming off just a brutal loss at Florida.
I know who you're going with.
I don't know.
I flip-flopped so much, but I feel pretty good now.
I feel like I've got to pick first here because you're going to sway me if I don't.
Yeah, you go. You're right.
Boomer Sooner.
Okay, I didn't even have to sway you. Great.
Give me Oklahoma, and here's why. I just don't buy that Texas can bounce back after that loss. Now, and I'm not saying that they're going to completely fall off a cliff here, but you're telling me that the struggles that I've seen from Arch Manning so far, and again, he had some moments against Florida where he looked really good, but he had moments where he did not. And Oklahoma's defense, having gotten to see them play Michigan, listen, Bryce Underwood's a better quarterback than Arch Manning. Okay.
I ain't know if I'm going there. I don't know if I'm going there.
You want to look at the first 5 games and tell me who's played better?
I don't know if I'm going there.
Bryce Underwood has absolutely outplayed Arch Manning.
That is a just wild statement.
It's not, though. It's factual. This is James Franklin saying it's not narrative, it's facts.
No, I just...
I do not trust Arch Manning against this Oklahoma defense. I understand that most of the focus will be Oklahoma doesn't have their quarterback. Get that. Understand that. Florida has DJ freaking Lagway, who has played like trash, and he played great. He at least played well, even if you're like, he didn't play great. He played well enough to get the win. Played well enough to get the win. I will take Oklahoma, and I will say that they're going to have to ride their defense in this one.
For sure.
I think they do it. I think they pull it off.
That's where I don't disagree with you. I think it is going to come down to the defense, and I trust Oklahoma's defense more than I trust Texas.
At least right now,
Texas gave up 450 yards or whatever to Florida. I also don't trust Arch's decision-making right now. I'm not going as far as to say that Bryce Underwood's a better quarterback than him. And that's fine.
The facts bear it out.
That's fine. But I think what it's going to come down to, because John Mateer obviously not going to play in this game.
Yeah. Which is, by the way, a huge bummer. An absolute huge bummer.
I think if he plays, this isn't even close. I think because they're going to be on their backup, Michael Hawkins Jr., who played okay, but they also played Kent State. So
didn't have to do much.
What are we looking at?
You're just trying to get his feet wet for this game.
Yeah, so I think as long as he's able to take care of the ball, it's going to be very similar to what you saw with like a Julian Sayin against Texas. They're not going to try to win the game with Michael Hawkins Jr.
They'll let the
He's just going to have to go. I think the defense is going to get enough pressure on Arch Manning that they're going to force him into
a Power 4 game. He will be Arch Manning.
That the Manning kid, once they get to him, make him a little uncomfortable. You saw what Ohio State did to him and how that impacted his play. I'm expecting kind of the same, so I'm going Oklahoma.
Would be a massive win for Oklahoma given the state of having Mateer out, because if they can get through this game, they should be able to survive until Mateer comes back. I know they really want him back for the Ole Miss game, obviously.
Yeah.
And Mateer is kind of, it's kind of like the Rod Moore thing, right? Like where even if you're a Texas fan, you don't like Oklahoma, you got to be upset that Mateer's missing this game. You got to be excited in one sense for him to get back healthy. It's the Rod Moore thing, right? Like no one wants to see a guy like Rod Moore hurt. And so it's exciting that he's able to get back there. Yeah, without Mateer, I think they'll have to ride the defense. I think the defense gets it done. Oklahoma, even though Texas is favored in this game, I think Oklahoma finds the win. Georgia at Auburn. Georgia 3.5-point favorites. They're coming off a loss to Alabama. Auburn hasn't had much.
Yeah.
They got a little bit hosed against Oklahoma, but did not look great against Texas A&M. But also they played
still was close.
But also they played Oklahoma and Texas A&M,
and they were close. Both of those games within 7 points.
Can Jackson Arnold get it done against Georgia?
No. Need I say more? I'm not high on Gunnar Stockton either. I just think this Georgia team is better. I don't trust Jackson Arnold at all, really. I think when it comes down to these kind of games, it's what quarterback can make the bigger plays. And if you told me I had to choose between Jackson Arnold and Gunnar Stockton, 100 times out of 100 times, I'm going to go Stockton.
And if you're telling me I have to pick between Kirby Smart and Hugh Freeze, I will take Kirby Smart.
As you should.
Yeah, Georgia in this one, and Georgia may win this one big. I can't believe we're picking this game. Florida at Texas A&M. The only reason that this game is even on the radar is what Florida just did to Texas. A&M 8.5-point favorites. A&M was looking like a favorite to win the SEC all of a sudden too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've got Texas A&M. I feel like I do this every single year. Florida feels like that trap game that I look at and I go, yeah, they could probably upset this team, and then they never do. DJ Lagway is not a good quarterback.
No.
Texas A&M has a dude that maybe you've heard of him, Mario Craver, who leads the SEC in receiving yards in a conference that has a guy that's named Ryan Williams, who is just as dominant of a receiver as a guy like Jeremiah Smith.
Marcel Reed looks
so
good.
You're looking at this kind of talent. Texas A&M's got the favor of it being a home game for them, and I think that's what ultimately swayed me, because I go with my heart a lot of times. And seeing what Florida did to Texas, then I go into a game like this, and it feels like the perfect trap game for A&M for me to go, yeah, you know what? I think Florida could maybe get it done. And they just won't. No. Texas A&M.
Florida caught lightning in a bottle against Texas, and they will not do it again. A&M will win this one. A&M, again, kind of like Georgia, A&M may win this one by like 3 scores. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think Texas A&M is playing really, really good football. Last one we're going to pick, and then we'll hit the stupid genius unless you happen to pick the underdog in this one. South Carolina at number 11, LSU. LSU needing a bounce back win.
Yeah, I feel like this is another pretty obvious one. Maybe you disagree with it, but South Carolina to me is a good team. They're decent. They're a middle of the pack SEC team when it comes down to it. A lot of their success depends really heavily on Lenore Sellers and whether he has a phenomenal game or not. And I think in this game, he'll probably have a couple of big plays, but just not enough to slow down the LSU defense from getting to him. I like Garrett Nussmeier. I think he's one of the best quarterbacks in the nation. And it's a home game for the Tigers. It feels like a recipe for this to be a blowout when people probably are expecting it to be a little bit harder fought game. I'm not big on South Carolina.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think LSU covers. I have drawn the line in the sand all off season, preseason through this season that LSU was a really good team, that LSU was going to win the SEC. So I'm gonna ride with him, but I can tell you that the offense has concerned me. As high as I was on Nussmeier, he's concerned me. And I know they got beat by a good by a good Ole Miss team, but I'm nervous about LSU moving forward. They will win this game. I think they will cover the 11.5. But then they go to Vanderbilt, and then they get A&M, and then they go to Alabama.
The A&M game is going to be really good. The Vandy one I'm not high on.
They've got Vandy, A&M, Alabama, and then they finish the year with Oklahoma. I guess we'll find out. We'll find out. Stupid Genius. Guess who got their first upset pick of the year?
Look
correct.
at you.
It's me. I'm changed. I'm a changed man.
Hopefully not.
Virginia beats Louisville on the road. So the Stupid Genius 5.5 point underdogs. If you get it right, you get whatever the spread was when we recorded this. So you're up 23.5 to 6.5. I desperately needed that.
And what's funny about this one today
is
you said you felt like you picked the same thing as me.
I'm afraid.
So I'm so curious. I want you to go first because I want to see how well you know me. This is a true test of our friendship.
I'm afraid that I picked the same team that you did because I know that you've been high on this team.
Oh, you might be right.
Was your spread 5.5 exactly?
It sure was.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not going to pick up ground this week.
Can I say it then?
Yeah.
Maryland over Nebraska.
Yeah.
Let's go.
And I would kind of like to see Nebraska win this game, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it makes it a more quality win for you.
More quality win. I'm trying to figure out what to do with Maryland because Maryland was up 20-0 on Washington and then lost. So again, there's the joke, right, about September Maryland is not to be trifled with, but just wait until October, November. I mean, that kind of bore out where you went, oh, Maryland has turned the corner. And behind the corner or around the corner is a man with a giant baseball bat and they got conked over the head with it. I don't know. That analogy doesn't work. Maryland over Nebraska, though, because I buy Malik Washington.
He's so good.
I buy Malik Washington. Scares me, by the way, if I'm looking ahead, Michigan goes to Maryland right before the Ohio State game. And I do not enjoy that.
Just very brief.
Because we got the same thing here.
I picked the same game, but can we just talk for a second about the spoiled riches that the Big Ten seems to have right now in young quarterback play? You've got Julian Sayin. You have Childs from Michigan State, who's played well. You've had Bryce Underwood, obviously, Dylan Raiola, Drake Lindsey, who, despite what he did against Ohio State, has shown promise. Malik Washington, another one that you could throw up there. I mean, just so much young talent coming out of that conference. Malik Washington, a true freshman. He's from Maryland. He's just been an absolute dog.
He's fun to watch.
He's so fun to watch.
Not when he plays my team the week before the biggest game of the season.
Oh, I'm gonna be so pumped for that.
Because and here's the thing too, and this is what the rivalry does. As we look to that, what does this mean for playing Ohio? Every game is not going to beat Ohio State. Every game was that enough to beat Michigan?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
But I can tell you right now that I do not like, and Ohio State struggled with this too, the game right before you go into the rivalry game. Maryland, was it 3 years ago, where Maryland did nearly...
Almost. At
Yeah, it was 2022. It was 2022 because no, I'm thinking of 22. Well, yes, there was that.
There was the Haskins one.
But I'm thinking more recently. So it was the same day that Michigan played Illinois and Blake Corum got hurt. And Michigan nearly lost to Illinois right before playing Ohio State. Because later that afternoon, Ohio State played Maryland, and Maryland nearly beat Ohio State. Michigan has had problems with Maryland as well. 2 years ago, the national championship year, Michigan looked like they were going to just dog walk Maryland, and then all of a sudden, here comes
the Turtles.
Here comes Tagovailoa, and Billy Edwards played in that game too, by the way. And Michigan went, hey, maybe we should finish this game out real quick. I do not like that matchup, right? I felt fine about it earlier in the year.
For this part of the segment, can we just put up the viral clip of the kid that goes, I like turtles, and that just be our prediction? Not.
Hey, fantastic college football this weekend. Please be sure to support the podcast, even if that just means you leave a rate, review, subscribe. Phenomenal. If you can support either by buying some homage merch in the comments, going to rivalpod.com, you want to throw $5 and say, hey, this will help cover gas to get you to Ann Arbor for a trip or whatever. Fantastic. Thank you so much for doing that. But please rate, review, subscribe, share with a friend, follow on social media at rivalpod. And man, just enjoy.
Get ready to not leave your couch all day Saturday. Honestly, start it Friday night. Rutgers in Washington, 9 p.m. Friday. Get it started early.
I felt like I was ramping up for like this great, like just enjoy so much good college football this weekend. Also, if you want to start early with just some college football, Rutgers in Washington on Friday night.
Go Scarlet Knights.
What's better than that? Most things, actually. The Rivalry Podcast is part of the Varsity Network from Learfield and the River Podcast Network from River Radio Ministries.
New episodes out every Monday.
Be sure to subscribe, rate, and review wherever you're listening right now, and follow on social media at RivalPod and rivalpod.com.
And if you like what you hear, share with a friend so they can listen too.